Hollywood has always been a land of legends. But on March 23, 2003, an unlikely name was about to be written into the record books. At just 29 years old, Adrien Brody had done the impossible. He had become the youngest actor in history to win the Academy Award for Best Actor. And then, in an instant, everything changed. The moment was unscripted, unexpected, and, depending on who you asked, unforgettable. But as the headlines rolled in the next morning, it wasn't Brody's historic win that stole the spotlight, it was the kiss. Was it an act of pure joy, or a moment of career-altering miscalculation? The world couldn't decide. And while some laughed it off, others weren't so forgiving. But what no one realized at the time was that this was only the beginning of a much bigger story. Adrien Brody had reached the pinnacle of Hollywood. But what followed was a story no one saw coming, a tale of rejection, risk, and redemption. What made Hollywood turn its back on him? What choices shaped his exile? And most importantly, where is Adrien Brody now? Long before the red carpets and flashing cameras, Adrien Brody was just another kid growing up in Queens, New York. His journey wasn't paved with privilege or connections, but with quiet determination and a relentless pursuit of something greater. Born on April 14, 1973, Adrien Brody was raised in an unconventional household. His father, Elliot Brody, was a history professor. His mother, Sylvia Placci, was a world-renowned photojournalist who documented war-torn regions across the globe. Her images captured human suffering and resilience, and Adrien grew up watching her work, absorbing the unfiltered realities of the world. But young Adrien was different. He wasn't drawn to books like his father, nor was he a fearless explorer like his mother. Instead, he found solace in performance. However, his early years were anything but easy. He was lanky, introverted, and struggled to fit in socially. His mother, recognizing his isolation, took action. She enrolled him in acting school, hoping it would give him confidence and an outlet for his emotions. Before he was an Academy Award-winning actor, Adrien Brody was the amazing Adrien, performing magic tricks at birthday parties. His ability to captivate an audience started in backyards, with a deck of cards and sleight of hand. By the time he was a teenager, Adrien had only one dream: to become an actor. But Hollywood had other plans. Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. He wasn't a traditional leading man, too lanky, too unconventional. Casting directors admired his talent but struggled to place him. For over a decade, Brody took whatever roles he could get. TV guest spots, indie films, anything that kept him in the game. He was gaining experience, but still, he wasn't a star. He wasn't even close. While his peers were landing blockbuster roles and million-dollar contracts, Brody was still chasing auditions, still waiting for his moment. And in 2002, that role finally came. In 2002, a young actor was about to take on the role of a lifetime. A role so demanding, so brutally transformative, that it would push him to the edge of his physical and emotional limits. When Roman Polanski set out to make The Pianist, he needed an actor who could embody not just the suffering of a Holocaust survivor, but the resilience of a man stripped of everything. Thousands auditioned. But Polanski saw something in Adrien Brody. For months, Brody lived in near solitude, dropping over 30 pounds, practicing Chopin relentlessly, and immersing himself in the pain of a man who had lost everything. By the time filming began, Adrien Brody was Władysław Szpilman. The result? A performance so hauntingly real, so heartbreakingly human, that it left audiences speechless. Critics called it one of the greatest performances of the decade. And on March 23, 2003, Adrien Brody's sacrifice was about to pay off in a way no one expected. At just 29 years old, he became the youngest man in history to win the Academy Award for Best Actor. This was it. The moment every actor dreams of. The kiss. It was spontaneous. It was bold. And it was controversial. In that single moment, Brody went from being the night's biggest winner to the center of an unexpected debate. What should have been the crowning achievement of his career became overshadowed by controversy. Instead of people talking about his performance, they were talking about the kiss. And while some brushed it off as a moment of euphoria, others weren't so forgiving. But the Oscar was still his. He had conquered Hollywood. Or so he thought. Because while Adrien Brody stood at the top of the mountain, he had no idea he was about to start falling. Winning an Academy Award is supposed to be a golden ticket to Hollywood's elite. For Adrien Brody, it was anything but. Instead of securing his place among the greats, his Oscar win became the start of his greatest battle, the fight to stay relevant. Brody had hoped to ride the momentum of The Pianist, but instead, he found himself trapped. He turned down major blockbusters, waiting for the next serious role that could match the impact of The Pianist. But that moment never came. He passed on roles in major franchises, believing he was destined for something bigger. But Hollywood doesn't wait. Other actors stepped in. Other careers flourished. And soon, Adrien Brody became an afterthought. And then came the desperate choices. He invested millions into passion projects that flopped. He took roles that should have been beneath an Oscar winner. Predators, Dragon Blade, American Heist, films that were critically panned and did little to revive his career. The audience that once celebrated him now barely noticed him. And the industry that once called him a prodigy had moved on. But just when it seemed like Brody had faded into obscurity, he did something no one expected. Once an Oscar-winning prodigy, now a name entangled in controversy. In the mid-2010s, Brody found himself at the center of a legal battle. A lawsuit over unpaid wages, mismanaged contracts, and accusations of failing to fulfill agreements. But the legal troubles were just the beginning. Fans, who once praised him for his artistic integrity, now accused him of selling out. From luxury watch endorsements to questionable brand deals, Brody's choices were met with public backlash. And then came the role, the one that was supposed to be his return to greatness. The comeback project that would redeem him in the eyes of Hollywood. But instead, it became the final nail in the coffin. With a disastrous film failure, legal troubles, and an audience that had moved on, it seemed like Adrien Brody's Hollywood story was over. But what if it wasn't? For years, Hollywood turned its back on Adrien Brody. And so, Adrien Brody turned his back on Hollywood. Acting was no longer his only outlet. He became a director, a producer, an artist, a musician. Hollywood may have written him off, but he was too busy creating to care. But despite his success outside of film, one question remained: would he ever return to the screen? And then, just when the world had nearly forgotten him, Adrien Brody did the impossible. He won again. 22 years after his first Oscar, Adrien Brody made history once again, winning his second Academy Award for The Brutalist, a film that critics hailed as his greatest performance yet. It was a redemption story Hollywood couldn't have scripted better. The industry that once abandoned him was now celebrating him. And yet, the question remains: is this the final chapter of Adrien Brody's redemption? Or will history repeat itself? For years, Adrien Brody's name was whispered as a cautionary tale, a star who burned too bright, too fast. But today, he's back in the spotlight. And this time, it feels different. After years of waiting, Hollywood seems ready to embrace him again. From Peaky Blinders to The French Dispatch, from Blonde to The Brutalist, Adrien Brody is proving that talent never fades, it just waits for the right moment. According to financial analyst, Brody's estimated net worth has climbed to $25 million, with a significant rise in income from directing and producing. He's no longer just an actor, he's a brand, a creator in his own right. But beyond Hollywood, Brody has evolved into something more, an artist, a filmmaker, a creative force. No longer waiting for the industry to define him, he's carving out his own legacy. So, what's next for Adrien Brody? A career renaissance? Or another fleeting moment in the sun? If you enjoyed this video, like this video, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share your thoughts in the comment section.